All right, welcome back to the 1959 Howard Miller World Clock. This is obviously the back side, but I've made a lot of progress, so I wanted to kind of redo a video, probably replace a video that I have up on YouTube right now that talks about just the lighting, because I have done wire management and basically put the scrolls in on the end. I've got the paper scroll to go in here. I'm going to pause it and put the scroll in and continue this so you can kind of get the whole view. But this is upside down right now, so this is actually the top. I had to resolder some connections. But I wanted to kind of go through this. The old system had one 12-inch fluorescent tube mounted on this metal bracket at the top of the clock. Remember, this is upside down. And that illuminated all of these little windows. And, this was kind of between the front and the back of the paper scroll with all the time zones on it. You don't know what I'm talking about. It's one of those things. That's what's going to go on these verticals here. And then it'll actually move with the mode that you kind of hear. It's upside down, so it's not happy. Anyway, this was the whole illumination system, was this one fluorescent tube. So it was bright here at the top of the clock, and it got dimmer, and obviously to the left and the right, it got pretty much dimmer. And so what I had the idea is switching it over to under cabinet lighting, LED lighting. So I now have a standoff strip because the paper scroll has to go on either side, so you get the light up inside the scroll rather than shadows and things like that. And then I added one in the bottom as well, and I wire managed that in. You got to be careful that the paper is going to go over here to the scroll. This is going to be inside the front and the back of the scroll, so the wires can't be in the way. So I spent some time this morning and put in a lot of little 3M on command things actually to keep the connections clear of the paper path. And this is just an idler actually here on this end. Oh, actually, sorry, that's the motor. This is the idler. Everything's upside down. So yeah, so that's just going to spin when the scroll wants to go. So the next steps, obviously, well, why did I do that? First of all, to get better illumination, but then I had the idea that, I don't want to have to it's going to go up on the wall up there. And in order to get at the switch, which turns the light on and off, I'd have to climb on this table on my workbench in order to turn it on and off. So I have a switched outlet that goes on and off with my basement wall lights. So I thought, well, if I double wire this, one plug-in has got to be constant power because it's got to run the motor. You can't turn the motor on and off and have the time be accurate, right? And then that also gives you the ability to have a switch, on and off for the light part of that constant power input AC line. But I added a second one, which can go to the switched outlet, and then I have a double throw. So there's two positions. There's an off and an on continuous power, and an off light or an on switched power. So I've got two connections, and I can show you here. This is the continuous power, and there's the LED strip. So I get much better light. Obviously, at the top, it's much wider than the 12-inch. And on the bottom, which didn't exist before, I almost went the actual, really the full length. So we're getting a lot of light into the windows here. We're getting light, better saturation across the whole scroll. So that was the idea. And this is running on the clock, on the motor power. So I turn it to off. I'm going to switch, I'm going to go to the other side. See the lights up. But this is switched power. So if I disconnect, bear with me here. Which one's which? This is number 2 on the top. If I unplug this, like if I turn off the basement lights, this would go off. But I don't know if you can hear it. The clock's still running. And to prove that, I still have power here. If I go to the other position, come on, there we go. I have, manual lighting. So anyway, improved lighting and giving me more capabilities. I think it'll be nicer to have the lights come on when you're in the basement. When you come in, you turn the lights on, and So that's working. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to put the scroll in. Obviously you won't be able to see the lighting effect. That's why I started this over, so I could replace my previous video. But I think it's going to be much better. So hang on. All right, that took a lot longer than I thought. And this is obviously the back side of the scroll. So the time is going to be going, I think, the wrong way, so to speak, because it's the back side of the clock. But we now have the new scroll in place. This is the drive sprocket. You can't really see it, but there's little cogs here that engage the holes and that turn the scroll. This is just the idler here. It looks like it's spread across the drop light pieces, or the the brackets. If I turn the light on, you get pretty good illumination. Now this scroll had much better drive holes, but it did have some rips all the way through it. And I guess if I really want to get anal, I could use a Blackmagic marker and, kind of make that black area, it won't be as noticeable on the white. These are the daytimes and these are the nighttime, by time zone and things like that. So there'll be a crack or a rip. There's 2 rips in this one, but overall it was so much better than my previous scroll. But anyway, just looking at the illumination, and this is right side up now, so the clock power is turned on, and wall outlet power, I can turn it in the middle and turn it off so you can kind of see it. And that's the switched outlet lighting. So it looks like my wire management is getting, it's working. This is the other one over here. It looks like that isn't interfering with the paper scroll. So, so far so good. I'm going to turn it around here. I'm going to pause it and turn it around just so you're going to see the front. All right, haven't seen the front of this clock for a while. I've been working on the back with all of that rewiring and things like that for a long time. But obviously the light is off at this point, and the numbers lining up pretty good. This is the time zones: Pacific, Mountains, Central, Eastern, and then kind of an odd one, Eastern Daylight Savings Time versus, so there's 2 Eastern, there's Eastern Standard Time and Eastern Daylight Savings Time. But I like this map better. They made a later clock that had more of just a solid blue background, but this has got little, whales and Poseidon and sea monsters and things like that. Let's turn the light on and see. Much better, I think. These are the daytime, and obviously the time isn't set yet, so don't get too crazy about that. But yeah, you can see the time and wherever you're looking. And there is an overlap that's built into the scroll. That wasn't me, but you can see that where the original manufacturing splice was done. It runs through vertically. But now we'll have to let it run, and everything seems to be aligning up pretty well. And if it's going to be mounted, right up there, I actually have the mounting screws. I did put in the mounting hooks here while I had it turned around. So this is going to be the upgraded lighting. You can kind of tell if it was only illuminated at the top with that 12-inch tube, you really wouldn't have gotten this kind of lighting effect. So I'm going to like that. And with the 2 option on the light switch, I can, light will come on when I turn the basement lights on and off, but it will keep running. The motor will keep running because it's got the other plug. So anyway, that is a kind of a wrap on the clock. I'm going to let this, I went over and wiped it down with a stain again, just kind of to freshen the finish. I like this finish much better than my donor clock that had the better scroll in it. That just has kind of almost a painted finish. And just for fun, I'll flip this up and you can see, I think the original ones had the more elaborate world map. This is obviously the original lighting. still. But this was the quote-unquote newer style. I may try to resurrect this one with the old scroll that I had tried to repair. It's in much worse shape, but anyway, that's the newer map of the world. But I certainly like the old nautical. Careful here. There's a sea monster down here. So anyway, that's enough. Don't want to make this too long. But 1959 Howard Miller world clock needs to get hung on the wall after the stain dries a little bit. And I was looking at this, I was thinking, oh no, I gotta refinish this stuff, but that's just the way it was made. So yeah, I'm going to just leave it all the way. It wasn't really a where the stain or finish came off. That's kind of how the wood absorbed it. And so far so good. Thanks for watching. It's been an adventure.